So a day of unmitigated toil for England. There were moments of false hope, as it proved, particularly in the first over of the day when Joe Root had Yashasvi Jaiswal, the opener, who tormented them in the last hour of the first day. Caught and bowled just 4 runs better than his overnight 76. He went for 80. Root was outstanding all day, but every one of the Indian batsmen got in and hurt them to a greater or lesser extent. Shubman Gill made a patient 23. KL Rahul was outstanding for his 86 off 123. Shreyas Iyer made 35, and wicketkeeper Shrikar Bharat 41. Interestingly, 5 of the 7 wickets to fall were caught on the boundary. Not how England's 3-man spin attack would have been setting out to take their wickets. Ravindra Jadeja finished the day 81 not out, along with fellow left-arm spinner and all-rounder Akshar Patel on 35. So a massive day of dominant cricket for India. 421 for 7, 175 runs ahead. Darren Gough, it's a long road back for England.
You could say that, Manners. It is indeed. India have been everything we thought they would be. England won the toss, got the advantage on day one, but didn't get as many runs as they should have. But India have really cashed in. Many people thought he's going to be a lot closer, but India, to get to this stage now where they're 421 for 7, a lead of 175, every batter really in the Indian side getting in, except for Ashwin, who was run out, by the way. And in that, if you want to be critical of India, you could say they could easily be 500 for 5 or something, because some of the dismissals, the short balls caught out at deep mid-wicket and stuff like that, is giving England half a chance still. But with that lead of 175, realistically, it's game over, isn't it?
Realistically, yes. Looking at on the positive side, England's boundary catching was good. Stephen Harmison?
Yeah, we're clutching at straws now, aren't we, Manners? Yeah, definitely clutching at straws. They look good as well in their new kit, but look, I think we're trying to, being facetious. Look, England, I think we knew, like Goffey said, we knew India were going to be this formidable at home. And I think if we were really honest, we knew that our spin bowlers weren't going to be anywhere near to the level that India's spin bowlers are. And I think the level of consistency, England, for the want to try, and I thought the effort in the field was admirable. It was excellent. I thought the energy levels were brilliant, but I thought the skill sets weren't up to that level. And I think that's the beauty about when you come to India. A lot of people, and there will be people out there who will tweet, who will send messages in. We should have picked Liam Dawson. We should have picked Joe Bloggs. We should have picked Will Jacks. We should have picked... they're not making any difference out here against this team. No chance whatsoever. I'm not saying this is the best spin unit that we could possibly have picked, but I think we've got to put it in reality and put it into perspective. I think when we come out here, our best spin option would probably be Joe Root over 5 test matches. Proved again that today. I think Jack Leach is coming back from a back injury, and you could see he hasn't bowled for 7 months. You could see his body couldn't get the rotation that he needed to get the ball to turn. I don't think he turned the ball in that first session. So, and that was off a little bit off stiffness from there. So we have to put things in perspective. This is our best spin bowling attack that we've got. You look at the Lions who are playing down the road, and their spin bowlers are travelling. I think the spin bowlers in this game down the road in the Lions game was bowled 35 overs, 1 for 199. When you come to India, if you don't get your lines right, you don't get your lengths right, you get punished. And England, consistently in this day's play in this innings, they've bowled 3 or 4 good balls in each over, but they've bowled 3 or 4 balls that have either been too short, have been too full, and bang, they've been punished. A couple of them that have been too short have been caught on the boundary, like you mentioned. But I think England have bowled far too many bad balls consistently to go with India being such a dominant force when it comes to playing spin in their own back garden.
Goffey, it's easy to point to the selection and say that it was flawed. England's gone in with 3 spinners, one of whom's on debut, one of whom's playing his second test match, and as Stephen Harmison's just said, one of whom hasn't bowled in first-class cricket since June. last year. So 7 months of rust for him to crack off, and it's different, as you very well know, bowling in the middle in a test match as opposed to bowling for 9 days in nets wherever you may be. But we were excited by the selection before the test match, so let's not be smarty pants after 2 days because things haven't worked out. Ben Stokes' captaincy was extremely positive. He backed everybody. He had attacking fields non-stop. He never went into that damage limitation mode because that's the way Ben Stokes captains. But did it put pressure on the bowlers rather, to have it almost too much support?
I'm not going to criticise Ben Stokes' captaincy. I think he's been unbelievable since he's took on that role and creating a positive environment and always having a self-belief in himself and his players that he takes out on the field with him to win a game. But when you look at it, and I think it is a part of it, and this is what Steve was kind of getting across with the article about even Folksy keeping wicket. He's not been out in the middle, has he? Not had any 2 or 3 day warm-up game to get himself going. I think he's had a poor game behind the stumps. Normally, I expect him to be absolutely best in the world when it comes to keeping. I think he's had a poor game behind the stumps. The spinners have looked short. The spinners, like I said, we've got a young spinning group, and our experienced spinner, as Army has mentioned, has not played any first-class cricket for such a long period of time. So things like that now, they get highlighted, don't they, when we see the performance, comparing them to the India spinners, which is harsh to do, by the way, because those three are possibly in these conditions the best in the world. You're looking at Ashwin and Jadeja are just superb, and then Axar Patel in Indian conditions is right up there with anyone.
Yeah, and it's easy to talk about the sort of preparation, and you mentioned in team selections and all that comes with it. I think the cold light of day when the cold water slaps you in the face is just, we're not good enough when it comes to our spin department, and we haven't been good enough for probably 40 or 50 years over in this part of the world, with the exception when we had Graham Swan, Monty Panesar, and I can't think of too many others. Ashley Giles came here with a plan and bowled it left arm sort of over the wicket, hit the leg stump, but it was a different time then. It was a different type of cricket then. This is before white ball cricket in the sort of IPL. These guys now, anything sort of off length, off line, they don't try and milk it. They just try and work it out the ground. And that's quite evident today, that when Rian Ahmed dropped it short, it went for 6. When Tom Hartley dropped it short, it went for 6. In days gone by, they just went for 1. We've never really come over here, apart from Swan and Panesar, with a group of spinners that we think, right, we're going to challenge. I was excited. You're right, Manners. We were excited about the team selection, but because it was a little bit, it was a bit left field. It was a bit new. It was a little bit naivety that, well, hopefully the sort of innocence the energy might get us through, and hopefully their energy will come. But I think a lot of us didn't want to say it at the time, but we knew the skill sets were not going to be anywhere near the skill sets of the Indian bowlers. And is it going to be enough for our batters to stay in the game? Because a lot of pressure is now on our batters over these 5 test matches to stay in the game, to give our bowlers a chance. And unfortunately, where we go from here, I'm not so sure, because as much as I spoke to a player this morning, a senior player this morning, talked about the resilience of that dressing room, and it is resilient. It's got character. It showed many times. It came out this morning with character, and it's all well and good saying it, but unfortunately, the human element of Hartley on debut, Rian Ahmed with 1 test match, that human element still has to go out there and try and perform. And I feel sorry for them in a way. I really do feel for them in a way, because this is a ridiculous goldfish bowl and a tough place to come and tour. But unfortunately, you are playing for England, you are 1 to 11, you are representing your country, but just it's unfortunate that their skill sets aren't good enough at this moment in time.
Goughy, England chose the 1 fast bowler, or the 1 seamer, Mark Wood, and every time the ball landed when he bowled it, it bounced like a punctured tennis ball. A couple of his short balls were bouncing 5 yards in front of Ben Foakes. And so he was completely emasculated and ineffective by the pitch. Was he the right choice?
I think he's a world-class performer. He's got pace, and I get why they've gone for it. If you look at our attacks over the years when they've gone to India, they might have struggled, the fast bowlers. So we're trying to be forward-thinking, trying to get bowlers who are quick through the air, can bowl good Yorkers. But you're leaving out a guy who's got nearly 700 Test wickets. I think that's always going to be a question mark. But I thought Woody actually got better and better as the innings went on. Yes, he hasn't got a wicket yet, but it looked like his speed was up. The only thing he probably needs to develop, if he wants to keep improving, is probably a cutter. That's the only thing we've not seen from him. And when you watch Bumrah bowl in that first day, even when the ball was reversing, he still had those cutters as well, which were gripping in the dry surface, and that's a big delivery to have. Robinson bowls good cutters, Jimmy Anderson bowls good cutters, so they are options going forward. But I get the selection of Wood. I totally do, because of his pace and quick through the air, and the thought the pitch would be pretty flat and the spinners would be playing the most dominant role.
Yeah, the Mark Wood one, I think he got better and better because he pitched it up. That was the thing. The short ball road and going. I get that in England and in Australia and the places where the ball's going to bounce. But actually running up and bowling at the top of the stumps on these surfaces, I think will be as much a handful as bowling bounces in England, just because you're looking at the unpredictability of the surface, the unpredictability of the ball, and hopefully you might get one to keep low, and he brings all dismissals into play. I think I got poo-pooed and laughed at 2 days out when I said England would play three seamers. The reason I said England to play three seamers is because that's their best options in this surface. The skill sets that come throwing a ball and drying it up is Jimmy Anderson and Ollie Robinson was going to be more of a dot ball, and Ben doesn't like this dot ball. He wants to take wickets, and I fully back that, and I fully understand that. But the reason why I said three seamers, because I probably knew 2-3 days out that these spin bowlers bowl on this surface against this quality opposition, we might end up with this outcome. And I think with the seam bowlers, more experience, more nous about them, I'm not saying India wouldn't have been 421 for 7. They probably would have been in the same commanding position. But I think Ben might have had a little bit more control of how he was going about setting fields and trying managing situations. Because from a spin bowling point of view, in this first innings, there were times where England just looked a little bit out of control.
Okay, let's hear from England spin bowling coach Jeetan Patel, who's talking to Andrew McKenna. But before we do that, I just want to give you the bowling figures. Tom Hartley on debut, 25 overs, 2 for 131. Jack Leach, 25 overs, 1 for 54. So not expensive by any means. Rian Ahmed also brought up his ton, though. 23 overs, 1 for 105. And Joe Root, the pick of the bowlers, 24 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 77. There were too many poor deliveries, too many half-trackers, too many full tosses in particular. But here is what Jeetan Patel had to say about the spin bowlers.
Jeetan, close of day 2, a lead of 175 for India. What's the thoughts from the England camp?
Do you know what? I think we put in a good shift today. The boys grafted really hard, created some chances. A lot didn't go our way. On other days it does, and I know we've said that before, but reality is they put in a hell of a shift, and to still create opportunities, they've also batted really well, and what seems to be the wicket is spinning, but it is starting to get slower. So look, it's been a tough day for us in terms of how the boys are feeling physically, but they'll come back tomorrow and they'll go again.
Let's wind back the clock several hours. Perfect start to the day, Joe Root getting the wicket in the first over, and anything seemed possible back then.
Oh, look, we spoke about that. We get an early one, we get Jaiswal early, and it takes away their impetus, and it did slow them down for a bit. But they managed to score boundaries at the right times and right overs. You know, maybe we leaked a little bit forward with the spinners occasionally, but overall, I think we asked some great questions, and they had to respect a lot of what we bowled at them. They're very good players in these conditions. We've got to keep trying to match them, that's all.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if KL Rahul's Nick's second ball gets held, then you're looking at a very different day.
Well, look, like I said earlier, there's opportunities throughout the day that we had, and you know, that Nick bounced a bit on Folkes. I mean, that's a tough one to get. A couple of LB decisions that, you know, umpires calls that you look back on, you think, wow, if they'd gone our way. ones straight up that Stokesy never saw. There's things like that, like there's such small margins, and they don't seem like much from the outside, but they affect the game hugely. And look, I'm just really proud of how the boys kept coming all day, and to see the way we fielded and the way we kept putting in a shift for each other, it's pretty impressive.
The effort was there, no doubt about that. Did you bowl well enough, though, as a unit?
Like, I mean, the effort was certainly there. They were fantastic all day. Did we miss a couple of times? Yeah. It's what happens in the subcontinent. It gets hot, it gets hard. You know, you get frustrated, you chase. What I really enjoyed is the way we stuck to our guns. We set attacking fields, we had defensive fields. We tried to toy with batsmen. We tried to take wickets when we could. And like I said, we created the chances, just not always going our way. But like, that turns very quickly, and in the fourth innings of this game, who knows? And that's where we're going to keep looking to.
Word for Tom Hartley. He's stuck at his task, and he's got a couple of wickets.
Oh, mate, like, how awesome is to be able to get your first Test wicket in India? I mean, he's bowled some very good balls, and then he bowls a couple of balls that, he'd probably take back. But Test wickets are Test wickets. I'm pretty stoked about how he's gone. He's always learning, and he's always going to learn. We're just going to keep remembering this guy's in his first Test match. He's only played 20 first-class games, but we see something that's really crucial in these conditions. I think he's going to get it right eventually.
It does seem like India have targeted him because he is the young man in the squad, if you like. So how do you get around him? How do you help him cope with that? Because he probably won't have seen this kind of stuff before.
I don't know why they've targeted him if they have, but the reality is that we're a very positive group, and you would have heard that a lot of times the way we talk about the game. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to keep challenging how far we can take this game and how far we can enjoy Test cricket. And I think that's what's really keeping him up and keeping him running at the moment. He knows he's got another chance tomorrow. It's Test cricket. It doesn't get any better. It doesn't matter how you go. You're playing at the highest level against the best players in the world. I think he's still in good spirits. He'll always be in good spirits because of the group we have.
The lead, as I mentioned, is 175. How quickly do you need to bowl India out? And the answer obviously is 3 balls.
You're answering a question.
but realistically, if they're still going at lunch, have you got big problems?
Well, look, they put on another partnership this afternoon. It just shows there is a chance to be able to do that if our guys can get in. We've got some attacking batters who play different shots as well. So, look, at the end of the day, it's all about getting the 3 wickets. So we'll worry about that stuff later. So much time left in the Test match. Things can change quickly.
This group is the most positive group of sportsmen I've ever come across. Is this still doable?
Well, do you enjoy watching us play? And I think that's probably the big thing. We want people to love watching Test cricket, love being a part of Test cricket. Nothing's impossible with this group. We've seen some amazing things from this group in different stages of the games. 2-0 down in the Ashes. I mean, there's so many we could go on about, but I know that group there are excited about getting their opportunity with the bat and where they can get the game to from there.
Darren Gough, if I was an England spinner who had just gone for 100, I would want Chetan Patel as my coach. I would want to fall into his arms in the change room at the end of the day and be reassured by him.
You would, wouldn't you? Yeah, it's amazing, ultra positive, and says all the right things, right? I think realistically he needs to do a little bit of work with a couple of them. There was too many full tosses bowled by all the spinners. I think when you go to it, we've all been out there, we've all been on a pitch, and you look to your spinner to bowl a lot of overs. England's best spinner, right, Jack Leach, has bowled 25 overs. If that was a Graham Swan, if that was a Monty Panesar, they'd have been looking at 40 overs, both of them, and bowled majority of the overs for the spinner on that pitch, and probably had 3 or 4 wickets at the side of the column, if not 5. There's the difference, right? Your main spinner he's only gone for 54, but he's only bowled 25 overs, the same as Root and Ahmed and Hartley. He should have been bowling double what the rest have bowled.
And the point that Goughy makes comes back to what we talked about before the series, and that the volume of bowling over here, the volume of bowling that Jack Leach has had was glaringly obvious, because today, at times in that last session, he could hardly move. He literally could hardly move. He went off twice to get some physio. Looked as though he's got a stiff back. He wasn't getting through the rotation of his bowling. Said he had a bad knee that he got an impact on yesterday, but he was clutching his hamstring. He looked in the field, and when he was bowling, he hadn't bowled for quite a long time, body-wise. Look, Chetan Patel, he's a great guy and somebody who is ultra-positive, and he is good for these bowlers. We've just got to put it into perspective. You know, Jack Leach hasn't bowled for a long, long time. We've got one test between the other two spin bowlers. This is going to happen. You know, the great, even the good and the great who have bowled spin around the world, who have got over 300, 400, 500 test wickets, have come to India on their first tour and struggled. You know, talk about Monty Panesar the other week. You know, he came here twice before he really sort of cracked it when he came. So I think that's the learning curve that this group is going to have. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt. The learning is going to hurt over the course of these next 5 games. For the simple fact is, this is the best we've got. This is what we've got. And this is what we're going to have to go with. And hopefully, the question that Maka asked to Jeetan about Tom Hartley and to Jeetan Patel about Tom Hartley is where Tom Hartley goes from here. Hopefully he learns and he gets positive and he gets better going into Visakhapatnam, going into Ranchi, going into Rajkot, because there's nowhere to hide. These are our best 3 that are going to try and take us forward.
I've deliberately left the final word on this podcast to Chetan Narula because he amused me a lot in the last half an hour when he had a raised eyebrow and a curled lip at the fact that 5 Indian batsmen were caught on the boundary. He seemed to miss the fact that they were had England and the Test match by the throat, leading by 175. They were 421 for 7. Chetan, pretty good day actually for India.
What can I say? I'm a hard man to please. Look, very, very good day for India. When you look at the scorecard, it's not going to tell you that they played careless shots to get out. It's going to tell you that there's 400 runs on the board. It's going to tell you that they kept England for an entire day in the field with their lead spinner, like Hami said, with their lead spinner having issues with his fitness. So this is only day 2 of a 25-day test series. So from their vantage point, it's looking like a very, very long journey. And India will be very happy with what they have accomplished today. Tomorrow, they're going to come out, bat for another session, and then just say, okay, you know what? Your turn to bat with a 200, 220-odd run lead.
You're listening to the Following On Daily podcast. If you've missed any of the action, we've got a highlights package for you, and we do look forward to your company. Once again, every ball live and exclusive as it will be throughout the series on TalkSport 2 from 4 a.m. Here's Root once again, and that one is driven straight back to him. Root's taking a return catch. Jaiswal's gone. Root's done it in the first over of the morning. Here is Root once again. Down the wicket, super shot. He's hit it high. Ben Stokes has lost it completely.
KL Rahul is on strike. This time he's smashed it on the onside. And it's going to be another boundary to start the over. So KL Rahul starting to flex his arms here a bit. Hartley in once again. Gill clips it to mid-wicket and he's caught.
England have a second wicket of the morning. Duckett takes the catch and Hartley has his first international wicket. Off the back foot, punch, square out on the offside. That's in control all the way. That's 4 runs.
They do say that the quicker it comes, the quicker it goes.
This time it's shot from Hartley and pulled away by Shreyas Iyer over mid-wicket. And that's a 6.
KL Rahul completes the single to take him to 50 from 72 balls.
Brand comes in once again. Shreyas swings into the leg side. Fielder out on the deep mid-wicket boundary. Takes the catch.
Hartley it is. And Shreyas goes for 35.
As Rahul takes it on the full, the first delivery. And that smash down over long on for 6. This is Sidney Midon now in position for Rahul. This is dropped shot from Rehan Ahmed. And it's smacked once again straight down the ground over long on for another 6. India have taken the lead here.
Down the wicket comes Jadeja, and he's launched this over deep mid-wicket. This is Ravindra Jadeja at his absolute best. That was 6 from the moment you heard it. Actually, you didn't even need to see it. His feet were brilliant. Got to the pitch of it, the speed of a ballerina, and hit it with the power of a heavyweight. Bang!
Short, very short, but this time he might have found the fielder. There's a catch. KL Rahul will drop his head in dismay. He's dropped his bat as well. Was a half tracker. His eyes would have lit up and he would have visualized somebody in the stands catching it. Instead, it was somebody inside the rope who caught it.
Dig deep time for England.
And Jadeja is on 52, yet another half century. This crowd loves him. Out comes the sword celebration. Rehan bowls. He picks up the googly and he smashes it off the back foot to mid-wicket. This time he'll get a boundary. And once again, an over from Rehan Ahmed is proving to be expensive.
Here's Root. He goes for another slog sweep. He's an appeal and he's given out LBW. Clipping. Umpire's call.
Pushed out towards cover. There's a opportunity of a run out and there's a complete mix-up. And England have a wicket as both batters end up at the same end. It's Ashwin who's going to walk off.
Low full toss, driven away past mid-wicket, beats mid-on as well, and it's 4 more. Too many full tosses today, too many half volleys, and too many long hops from the England spinners. Low full toss there, and Jadeja's whipped that one away, threaded the needle, beat Duckett at mid-wicket, and Mark Wood at mid-on, both of whom put in a dive. But Jadeja marches on handsomely, 78 not out.
And India's 400 is up.
Here's the last ball of the day, and Akshar Patel has gone for it again. He's finished the day 4-6-4 with 14 runs, with another slog sweep, the final ball of the day, and India will finish the day with that burst of scoring in the final over on 421 for 7 and a lead of 175.